Bless you for joining the continuation of the exhortation on rest. We mentioned that in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 and 29, where we saw two kinds of rest: rest of your spirit and rest of your soul. And one, you have it instantly at regeneration, that you're born again. The other is through process, and your mind must be set free. And we also mentioned later that there was a war in heaven, so you can't have rest in heaven. Obviously, you can't have rest on the earth. You can't have rest in the location, because when they got to Rephidim, which means rest, they had an attack from the Amalekites. That's the Israelites. And in our last session, we dealt with how you must enter into the 7th day, just like God entered into the 7th day. And he created the 7th day for himself. So what happens is God's 7th day becomes man's first day. You don't operate from the works, you operate from the rest. But there's a misconception. People think when we mention rest, according to scripture, it means you must not work, like a vocation. Rest was God's vocation. What did God do before he entered into it? He had worked. He was in retirement and the plan was working for him. Now, let me take you to Paul mentioned something in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 10. You must have an identity and then you know your destiny. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 10. Paul, we know, had a trade. And he says something here. But let me start from verse 9. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 9. For I am the least of the apostles, who am not worthy to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. Verse 10. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. He's talking about his identity. His identity. But there must be a destination after you discover who you are. Identity cannot put food on your table. When you identify who you are, when you're able to discover who you are, then you function from that identity. That function is what brings food to your table. Now, when you talk about the rest, you need to work. How does this function? How do you enter into rest? You work harder in rest. You work harder when you're born again because you have found grace. The harder you work, grace blesses what your hands are working. So that you don't fold your arms and say grace will supply. It doesn't supply that way. God worked and rested, and it was functioning because everything had been done. In the same way, he discovered his identity by saying, I am, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace toward me was not in vain. But I labored more abundantly than they all. I am what I am because of grace. My identity is because somebody died for me and I believe in the person and I'm saved and I'm a son of God. I am a son of God by grace. It doesn't end there. And it says, but I labored more abundantly than they all. I worked harder than all of them. Yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. I worked harder when I discovered my identity. And the blessings from my works were results of the grace upon me, not me. So the harder I work, the harder I see grace functioning for me. That's how it works. This is how you work in rest. So in rest, you work more. And you don't trust your flesh. You don't trust your works. You trust grace even in your works. This is how you rest. If you don't have grace or you don't operate from rest, you'll be working and still be worrying. But if you operate from rest, you'll be working and still trust God to bless what you are working. Glory, glory. But I labored more abundantly than they, or yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. Therefore, whether it was I or they, so we preach and so you believe. So the point is, you work harder from rest. You work harder freeing your mind. Put your mind at ease, trusting God absolutely that whatever you are working, He will bless it with His grace. This is Pastor Edemadon, and God bless you for being with us.